Tyron Woodley insists that KSI is all talk and doesn't want to fight him, but what really happened? KSI is fighting Dillon Danis on January 14th on the 4th Misfits boxing event, which was originally planned to have Logan Paul on the card as the co-main event to KSI. Logan's opponent was set to be Dillon Danis before he had to pull out due to his recent knee injuries he got during his match in the WWE. KSI then took Logan's place and is now fighting Dillon instead, leaving the fight he originally had in the dust. This means KSI was in negotiations for other matchups before Dillon, with Tyron Woodley being the main option for whom he was set to fight this January. With Woodley coming off 2 fights against Jake Paul and being well known in both the influencer boxing space along with the MMA world, this would have brought in the perfect audience for KSI to step up in competition in a big event and have the perfect tune-up for an eventual match against Jake Paul. They would even be able to compare their performances for an eventual match and see how both stacked up against Woodley in the ring. After Alex Wasabi pulled out of his fight against KSI in August, Jake Paul stepped up, calling for Tyron Woodley to step in for the fight.
I guarantee you, you would never fight Tyron Woodley, and he's ready to step in to fight you on 3 weeks' notice. So if he's just some old UFC guy that you're trying to discredit, why not fight him instead of this no-name opponent you're about to throw in? Because Tyron Woodley's a much bigger name, but you won't do it.
This didn't end up happening, however, as KSI expressed that he didn't want to get involved with another Jake Paul associated fighter, so he ended up fighting both Swarms and Pineda on the same night as a big spectacle for his boxing return, with a bigger challenge set to come in his next fight. This was forgiven considering he's had quite a long time off, but KSI then put out a poll with almost 1 million votes, asking everyone who they would like to see KSI fight next, with 38% of votes going to Woodley compared to 31.4% of them going to Dillon Danis. So it was decided then, right? KSI was going to fight Tyron Woodley and make the fight that the fans wanted to see. While this seemed to be the case at the time, it wasn't what ended up happening, as KSI announced on Misfits Boxing 3 that he would be taking on Dillon Danis. So why go with Dillon over Woodley in the end? It's pretty clear that Tyron Woodley is definitely a tougher challenge than Dillon Danis in the ring, being a former UFC world champion and a wrestler with a powerful right hand and decent striking technique, compared to Dillon being a grappler with not much striking experience seen to date, with a lack of snap or power behind his punches as well. However, this could be why the fight against Dillon Danis makes more sense, as there are more unknowns and possible intrigue with a fight against Dillon Danis over Tyron Woodley. Also, if you guys are enjoying the content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps out tremendously and it lets me know you guys want to see more like this. But back on track, while Tyron confronted KSI at the Floyd Mayweather vs Deji event regarding a possible fight, it seemed like there were also some issues coming up in terms of the negotiations for KSI vs Tyron Woodley. Prior to Dillon being announced as his next opponent, Woodley showed a glimpse of his contract with KSI, where it shows a rehydration clause implemented in the contract, meaning Woodley would not only have to cut to 175 pounds, but would need to weigh no more than 185 pounds on the day of the fight. While this seemed to be an issue for Woodley, he still wanted to go through with the fight, as he claimed that there were not budgeting issues to fund the purse like most assumed after Logan Paul pulled out. KSI and his team are looking to make the biggest fights with the lowest amount of risk possible so that he secures his fight against Jake Paul happening in 2023. At the end of the day, it's all a business, and KSI's management are the ones who set up the fights, meaning they are actively pursuing the best route for KSI to get to his ultimate goal. For them, it seems like this is not to follow in the footsteps of Jake Paul with a fight against Tyron, as this will give high expectations for KSI to finish Woodley in the same fashion as Jake, as KSI himself even put the stakes on that fight, saying he would beat Woodley in a faster time. Dillon Danis is a great dancing partner for a promotion, however, with his notorious trolling antics online, and this fight has no less, as he's been consistently building this fight against KSI more than any opponent beforehand, with jabs about all sorts of people who come at him on social media, as well as having viral interviews and interactions with the likes of Ariel Helwani and KSI. On a technical level as well, this fight is probably more of an interesting fight on paper, as Woodley is highly criticized for being an extremely tentative fighter who doesn't pursue much to happen over the fight like we saw against Jake Paul. KSI himself has called Woodley out on this, saying that his fights against Jake were extremely boring to watch and uninteresting. With Dillon Danis, we don't exactly know what we can expect from him inside a boxing ring, such as whether he will be an aggressive front foot fighter or if he'll approach the fight with a defensive counterpunching style. In the end, Woodley has been extremely vocal about this KSI fight, with harsh words to say about him, such as him being all cap, not a real fighter, and he doesn't really want the smoke, with KSI making a final offer to Woodley saying that when he gets a win in the squared circle, he'd fight him. This was a seemingly counterproductive offer from KSI, as he already sent Woodley the contract and were in negotiations to fight him, but with Woodley not taking any fights since then, it looks like we may never see the KSI vs Tyron Woodley fight. Joe Fournier is now fighting on KSI's upcoming undercard, serving as the backup for Dillon Danis if he were to pull out, as well as what looks to be KSI's next fight after Dillon Danis.
You mentioned KSI at the start of the interview. Do you reckon that's a fight that can be lined up in the future at all?
We're already lining up. We're already talking about it. I'm the alternate for this fight. If Dillon Danis pulls out, I'm jumping in. I told him already. I said, I don't need to train. Just give me the weight. I'm in. So they just got to, hopefully Dillon Danis don't show up and I get to just beat up KSI, leave Tony the battering save Tony the battering. You know what I mean? Save him a few brain cells, the old boy.
This fight looks to make more sense for KSI's career and may put the storyline of KSI versus Tyron Woodley to rest. But let me know your thoughts on what went down between KSI and Tyron Woodley and whether you think this fight still has a chance of being made anytime in the near future. But thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoy my content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.